Hi, Eric.
Hi, Lauren. Hi, Darren. How we doing today?
Good. How are you?
Good. All right, so I've spoken with both of you before, but not together. So this is gonna be fun. I'm gonna start with Darren. The last time we talked was Saint Agatha, which was a story about a very resourceful, independent, powerful woman in a situation against foes who were more powerful and more
And she was a
resourceful.
con woman. So
Exactly. So
yeah,
is this the new MO for the rest of your career?
I think I have massive distrust in people. No, you know what? I just gravitate to a very particular type of story, and I think I always am. I have massive respect for magicians that can trick people into believing things, and I think that just kind of bleeds over into everyone, into everything. Uh, so I love going to the Magic Castle and watching. I was there recently, and I finally had something happen to me that I've always wanted to happen. Is someone took my watch off me, and they were just cunning, and it wasn't. I just let my guard down, and you realize how easy people can let their guard down and be taken advantage of. And I just think that it's something that I just gravitate towards.
Well, this one particularly, and Saint Agatha, that just basically like tells the cautionary tale that there's always a bigger fish. There's always something more terrifying around the corner. Starting with Tad, even before Robert reveals who he is. It's cautionary. Is there something to learn from this?
Well, I think always, I think that also you reap what you sow. And I think that one of the things I really responded to in the script was, in some respects, Paloma is an unlikable character. She comes in and she's conning people, she's using her sexuality to get what she wants. And then you meet Kezian, and he's not necessarily an antagonist, nor is he the protagonist. They both are these varying shades of gray. And I love that because I think that's how most of us fall into our lives. We're not good or bad. We're somewhere in between, depending on how you view us and when you view us. And I think that, my favorite types of movies are things like A Simple Plan or Fargo, where you see characters that are making mistake after mistake after mistake, compounding to this very large domino effect of everything in their life getting fucked up and going wrong.
Yeah. Uh, Lauren, we talked about your roles in the Terrifier films, which enable you to use your physicality and your background as a stunt performer. But this film really allows you to use your voice, your different accents, your Italian. Tell me about bringing those items out of your toolbox and using them in Twisted.
Oh, I was so incredibly excited. The jarring aspect about that is that I only had 3 weeks to prepare those different dialects and different accents. Darren offered me this role in the beginning of October of last year, and then we started filming the beginning of November. So I reached out to two dialect coaches that I respect and trust, and when one of them wasn't available, I utilized the other to try to really maximize my time. And what was so great about it is it was specified in the script like, okay, she will speak with an English accent, she'll speak with an Irish accent, but I got to decide based off of my understanding of the characters which regions the dialect would come from. So I decided for Emma Woodhouse, who is based off of Jane Austen's Emma, being that she is kind of like this posh figure, very classy, I felt that she should have a posh accent. Same with Molly Bloom, based off of the character in Ulysses, which is set in Dublin. So it made sense to me that she would have a more Dublin type accent. I was so incredibly excited. Again, it was terrifying because I had such a short period of time, and we did what we could with the time that we had. And then, of course, Darren and Mark Berg were aware that I speak Italian, and that wasn't in the script. So they wanted to have that other layer of depth to Paloma. So we got to also include some of my Italian in the script, which was a lot of fun.
This is another film where your entire family has been wiped out and you're an island. Uh,
I don't know why. This keeps
yeah, yeah.
happening to me.
Tell me about going to these dark places, but still giving the character humanity that the audience can relate to.
I think there's so many themes to be explored in this film, and I really hope people will want to have those conversations at the end. But I think one of the themes is exploring death and grief and how we approach death and grief. And I spoke about this yesterday. I find the comparison between Mary Shelley's Frankenstein and this script, it's not lost on me with Dr. Kezian kind of having this his own Victor Frankenstein-esque qualities, and that book also really explores grief. And I remember a passage, I think it was in volume 2 of the book. I can't really remember. It's been a while. That Alphonse, Victor's father, I can't remember if it was when he lost his mother or his brother, that Alphonse he said to him and warned him that reveling in excessive grief will kind of be his ruin. And it really was for both Alphonse and Victor in their own stories. And especially for this, I feel that that theme is also very much explored. For Paloma, she has to deal with this excessive grief, and same with Dr. Kezian. And I think it makes us so incredibly human. And even though we have these morally gray areas that we both kind of explore in the film, we get to see the more human aspect of it that I think we all can relate to. I think it just comes naturally because we've all experienced a certain level of grief and how we approach that grief.
I think the human condition is to be delicate. Darren, let's talk about this cast you've assembled. Jamon Hansu, Neil McDonough, Alicia Witt. You've got some heavy hitters here. Were there ever any egos on set, or was everyone come to play?
Well, I hate saying this and I hate talking shit on someone, but Lauren LaVera is the definition of diva. Um, no, you know what? Everyone, when you're doing a movie like this with no time and no money, I think everyone comes to the set knowing what it is and ready to play. I don't think there was anyone that came in with any sort of attitude, anything like that. Um, you felt your lead actor set the tone of everything, and I think that when Lauren, does her first scene and everyone kind of sees the movie we're making, and then Jaimin shows up, and Lauren has said this a couple of times. I can't say it better than what she has. There's a regalness to Jaimin when he enters set. Like there is he's got this weight that just kind of it follows him in. Here you have Lauren who is, speaking with these insanely articulate accents, and then you have Jaimin Hunsu who is English is like his seventh language, and I can barely form a fucking sentence. So I think that everyone kind of rises up to their level, including me, when you're dealing with actors that are so professional and versed and prepared. Yeah, it was fantastic.
Think you have an entire chapter, or at least like several pages in the pantheon of horror. Thanks to all the work you've done in the Saw films and Agatha and this. Do you have passions that lie elsewhere? Are we going to see a romantic comedy from you next year?
No, you're probably never going to see a romantic comedy, but I do have these things that I really want to do. Like for me, I, I think that my passion lies in the absurd and in the um, grandiose. And I look at movies like one of my favorite movies of all time, and it's a movie that I go back to and I steal a lot from is Dick Tracy. And if you look at Repo the Genetic Opera, it is over the top and it's flamboyant in the color palette and what it is. And I think that those are the movies that I respond to because for me, I still look at movies as a way to escape my reality, my mundaneness, my issues. And so for me to escape, I want to go into an Alice in Wonderland like environment. I want to go through the rabbit hole for those 2 hours and be transported into a different world, a different universe. I look at Blade Runner or Brazil and these movies that had profound impact on me. They are these hyper realistic worlds. We one of the ideas going into Monster, it was called Monster originally, became Twisted, is that I wanted by the very end of the movie for it to be over the top in the kind of insanity that was taking place. So the movie starts off in like a very normal widescreen, normal color palette, but with each act, we close in the aspect ratio and we start introducing hyper realistic elements, such as the lens. For example, if we watch the movie, you'll notice that the lens begins to blur out everything on the sides and only focuses on the middle. And then the very end, we're using Storaro gels. Storaro gels are what Dick Tracy was the DP of Dick Tracy. We're using these hypercolor kind of crazy gels. And that's again me fighting with my own desire to do something just completely sci-fi, out of the box, crazy, like Repo or The Devil's Carnival or those type of movies. So yeah, that's what I would like to do. I want to do like a big sci-fi thing.
Well, I hope you get to, and I'll be here to talk to you about it. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Darren. Thank you, Lauren. That's all of our time.
You know, for you, I'm prepared to make an exception.